fella stopped me on the street last night. Said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. Oh, you seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster. Oh, roller coaster.
Mandatory minicamps are starting across the league next week, but the Colts will be without an important member of their team, quarterback Anthony Richardson, dealing with a shoulder injury. Head coach Shane Steichen went on to further say today with the media that they hope to have Richardson back by training camp. Another injury, but one that seems much more manageable. Lions wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown had surgery on his knee this offseason, but the expectation is he is going to be ready for training camp. Staying with wide receivers, the Ravens did lock up Rashad Bateman today, a 3-year extension worth $36.75 million. $20 million of that is guaranteed. And NFL insider Jordan Schultz reporting that Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin has made it clear to Washington that he is frustrated with the lack of progress on his long-term deal. McLaurin did originally report to OTAs, but left before they ended, and whether or not he will attend mandatory minicamp is unclear. Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final tomorrow in Edmonton. The Oilers do hold a 1-0 series lead following yesterday's overtime winner. Today, though, the Boston Bruins announced their next head coach, LA assistant and former Bruin Marco Sturm. And NBA Finals, they get going tonight. OKC hosts Indiana, both franchises looking for their first championships. Tip-off at 8:30. Bisons in Syracuse versus the Mets at 6:30. That game's going to be over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. Getting started in just a few minutes, the Blue Jays host Philadelphia. At 4, the Mets are in LA versus the Dodgers. Then at 7, the Yankees host Cleveland. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. I don't think that's a very good attitude.
It's Mike Schopp.
You don't think? You don't think? But I don't think you should be butting in when I'm talking to my team. You're my assistant, okay? You're supposed to back me up and go get me juice boxes when I tell you. Now go get me a juice box.
You know who you're talking to?
It's the Bulldog.
I'm talking to the juice box guy.
You're crazy.
I'm not crazy. I'm just thirsty.
Why don't you go to hell?
No, you go to hell. While you're there, why don't you grab me a juice box?
I'm no juice box boy, I'll tell you that.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you
It's
are.
Mike
I'm
Schopp
not. You
and the
are.
Bulldog on WGR Sports Radio 550.
Never, and there's no doubt about it, has this room ever been more riveted by a Diamondbacks game?
I don't think I can start the show.
I want to wait
till we got to hit pause. We're waiting for this high drama here at, what did you say the name of this ballpark is?
This would be Truist Park.
Truist Park in
Atlanta.
Oh, wow, almost a wild pitch.
How did this happen? So I get here. You're here before me today. I get here. The game's just kind of going along. It's on. I say something about why not golf, and you're like, hasn't started yet. So we're on baseball. We're on Diamondbacks Braves, and I'm just checking it out.
Yeah.
We're both sort of alternating, taking looks at it. The ninth inning maybe started 10-4.
I think that's right.
10-3 or 10-4, not
10-5
anything
or
else.
more. Yeah.
No, the first homer made it 10-5.
Yeah.
Arizona's losing to Atlanta. 10-5, 10-7. Both times I left the room and came back, and Arizona hit home runs in the ninth inning.
The second home run was a 3-run shot, so it was 10-4.
Two-run shot.
Oh, sorry.
No, right?
I thought.
So you think it was 10-3?
Maybe.
Okay.
Well, the second time you left the room, when you walked back in, I think that guy had hit a 3-run home.
Okay, then it would have been 10-3 to 10-4 to 10-7 to 10-9. 2 out, 2 on, 3 and 2. Whatever we got.
Oh boy,
we got a ball game.
We got a tie. We got extra innings on
That's
getaway
gonna be
day.
the lead.
Extra innings. Oh yeah,
that's
right.
going to be the lead.
It is the lead. That's 2 runs. Okay.
It's sports.
What a job here by these Diamondbacks.
7 or 8 runs already in the ninth inning at Atlanta.
Thursday afternoon. Everyone wants to just get on the plane and go wherever they're going.
Cincinnati,
next, right? They're going to Cincinnati. Atlanta's going to San Francisco.
That's correct.
Right? We know these things because we're professional sports watchers.
We're locked in.
We are here. We've been watching this for 30 minutes, maybe. But man,
I think this inning has gone 30 minutes.
So compelling.
I'm into it. I love it. We got an 8-run ninth. Down 10-3 to 11-10 or 10-4 to 11, whatever it is.
Yeah, sorry. I might be botching that 2 or 3 run home run thing. But it's not that big a deal either way. It's a big comeback and not at all
what I was planning on talking about 5 minutes ago.
Sure. Well, there's always that, sure. But just, cruise control. You
gotta love baseball.
Just gonna get out of here. Let's just go. We gotta get on the plane.
This is not possible in most sports.
How do you mean?
You're near the end of the game and you're way behind. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
Hockey, football, basketball, there's nothing you can do about it. You're down whatever the equivalent of 10-3 is, almost to the end of the game. It's over.
Yeah.
Your backups are in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Golf, you could blow up. You could have a lead in golf. You could go Van de Velde and blow up.
Double, and suddenly it's tight.
Golf is never over till it's over. But, football's definitely over before it's over many times. Mm-hmm. Hockey, basketball. Not baseball.
Yeah, whatever we could. I don't know. Maybe there's some theory out there, an algorithm that would tell you what a comparable lead in the other sports would be to 10-3 or 10-4. But it's probably 2 scores in football at least.
It's the third quarter. You couldn't come back from whatever that is in this amount of time. You'd have to do it it's like the Bills Oilers,
right,
or something where you'd have to come back from, that far behind, but you'd have to have time to do it. In baseball,
there's no time. There's just outs.
Just 3 outs.
You got to get the outs.
Who even knows if Arizona wanted to win this game?
Time limits.
You mentioned the plane. Who even knows if they were would they have taken, how many guys on that team going into the top of the ninth inning would have taken a comeback? You take the comeback versus let's get out of here and eat. Go to Cincinnati. Have a night.
I don't I don't have a grasp of the AL West standings or NL West standings.
They're
Excuse
in
me.
fourth. They're like 500.
Okay.
They're, they were just in the World Series 2 years ago, but like they're pretty good. They're okay. This goes back to our conversation. Does a baseball team on June 5th really care?
There's definitely at least one guy on that team that has plans to meet someone in Cincinnati at a certain time.
Yes.
It could be a woman. It could just be an old college friend, whatever.
Could be dad.
I don't have to make this salacious, but, you
could be anything.
Could be anything. That person or those persons, anyone that had that sort of arrangements, were sitting in the dugout as the Railers started just like going, oh, come on, man.
This was me once.
I don't need this right now.
This was sort of me once. Do you want to know that story?
Sure.
When I was doing my 1 year of AAA baseball, I've referenced this before, and in a couple of examples, I think I'm right. Sort of like feel like I was sort of made to be I was kind of set up, I think, a couple times.
Okay.
But I've known for many, many years that, like, my future was not in working for a team. Mm-hmm. Could never work for a team.
Right.
But in that particular year I was, and I didn't really know where I was going yet. So I was doing radio. I was the second guy. We traded innings, like I was just sort of like, I was 23. And there was a night, I had just met a woman that I was excited about, and she was waiting for me. Mm-hmm. And there was a night where it rained in like the 8th inning. And, what am I doing? I'm looking at my phone. Was there a phone?
Yeah,
I'm trying. I don't know if I looked at 1995.
You probably weren't looking at your phone.
I probably wasn't looking at my phone, but I was. There were ways to find like what does the forecast look like? What are we looking at? It's AAA. Can we just call it? Right? Do I need to finish? I'm not on the team.
Do you remember the score of the game?
No.
No. Okay.
I have no idea what the score of the game was. I just remember it was pouring late. It was already late. Maybe it wasn't even close. Maybe the game wasn't close. So you just sort of like, let's bail.
Right.
In like normal life, you would just be like, all right, that's it.
Right. Fans probably left this thing
left
in droves.
In droves. And I'm sitting there going, do I really need to stay for this? I kind of want to leave. You can relate.
But
I'm 23.
Oh my God,
yes. I kind of want to leave. Who remembers this? I mean, it's so long. Yes, right? This feeling. So
but it's your inning, right? You can't. You got to fill during a rain delay, right?
No, we were not even on the air.
Oh, wow.
No, we were not even on the air. It's the minors. Like you're not on the air. You sent it to the network.
You
or
mean
something.
Red Wings magazine took over? Like
what was that? What would have been on? A
famous old game from the Red Wings archive.
Tim Neverett. How do you like that name?
All right.
How do you like that poll?
Tim
Neverett.
Neverett.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a late night, like Pharrell.
Okay.
Some late night national syndicated radio guy. You don't remember Tim Neverett?
No, I don't.
I think he went to do play-by-play for the Dodgers. Even
yeah,
maybe.
I don't
just
recognize
like
the name.
Deep voice guy. I don't know if he had anything to say, but he was somebody that might have been who we flipped the switch to while the rain delay was happening in Rochester.
You're sitting there. You want to leave, but
we're doing nothing.
Right. Except waiting for the rain to stop.
You
can finish this game.
And I go, you know what, guys? I'm going to take off. So I did. And they like 2 hours later, I want to say, they resumed to my horror, they resumed the game. And I wasn't there. And I'm sure that was bad.
Do you remember if there were any repercussions? Was there a meeting?
I remember that I was not hired back.
Okay.
I remember that I was not retained by the organization.
Right.
There was another time where, I'm not proud of any of this.
You recently...
It was a great night. I'm not proud of any of this.
All right. You recently told a story about getting admonished for using... what phrase? You said something.
The little lefty.
The little lefty, right.
Yeah.
So that's that same
30
year.
years ago.
So you could have been, not retained because of that?
I don't think I was considered a team player, and I don't think that judgment was incorrect.
Yeah, right. It doesn't sound like you were a team player.
No, I mean...
You wanted to leave to go meet a girl.
Yeah. I was making, I don't know, $25 a game or something like that, and I just I think it was a poor choice. Because what I always did... Does anybody care about this? It's still 11-10 Diamondbacks.
Absolutely not.
No.
But please continue.
What I always did was say yes to everything. That's my speech in schools. Always do it.
Right.
But it's sort of it kind of goes back and forth. You feel like you're not being respected maybe, and then they're feeling like they're not being respected, and it just sort of gets worse.
Yeah.
Just like in a life situation. But I remember there was another time where it was rainy and super windy, and it was like, all right, all hands on deck. Let's go down to the field and fix the field. And I'm thinking to myself, I didn't sign up for that. I'm not grounds crew.
You want to go,
But, okay.
You want me to go rake mud?
Yeah, they wanted me to rake mud. I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing that.
Wow.
But that's kind of what the mentality you need.
That's the minor leagues, right?
Interesting to talk to Pat about this, or guys that have really, put their time, the hard yards in.
Yeah.
Quote, I mean, it's relative, but still, I don't know. So it's 11-10 Diamondbacks, bottom of the ninth.
Runner on
That's
first.
the story.
Yeah, so.
You want to know what I was going to ask you? We have Trysta. We have Travis. Game's over. Arizona wins.
Inning-ending, game-ending double play.
What a cool comeback.
Yeah. Let me go to the golf now. This is where that all started.
Do you know what I was going to ask you? You don't know what I was going to ask you.
No.
I kind of liked it.
You started to say we got Trysta and Travis today.
Trysta and Travis.
Yeah.
I kind of liked it.
What you were going to ask me?
Yeah.
I think you still can. It's only 3:13.
Ready?
Yeah.
Rashad Bateman, Ravens receiver, got a contract extension today. 3 years, up to $36.75 million, $20 million guaranteed. Before you say it, I know he's a wide receiver. Would you do that for James Cook?
No.
So I think the most interesting, even maybe controversial thing from Bulldog about the Bills right now is that he does not want to pay James Cook 5 cents more, or is that going too far? Is there a new contract for James Cook that you would support?
It's anything under $10 million a year, maybe, yeah. But I don't even love that. I just think it's likely that you're going to regret it at some point. And I don't want to give really almost any running back a second contract. So I definitely don't want it to be more than 10. I think I've said along if they get 3 for 30, something along those lines done, I'm okay. Keep the peace, kind of like you're saying. Let's keep the peace. But I don't need it to happen. I don't need it to happen. I think
you might need it to happen.
I don't know. I kind of doubt it. I just don't think there's any leverage on his side. And for all the talk about, will the guys be mad, if he's not taken care of? I mean, maybe. But they might also be mad if Cook doesn't show up and put in his time. We're all in this together, right? So this is your situation. They've got you. You're stuck. And what are you going to do for us? It should be a two-way street. I think we mostly look at it from a standpoint, I do myself, look at it from, is Cook unhappy, and then does that spill over into the team, and is there a problem? But I think it's incumbent on the player to hold up his end of it, too, and be there for the guys. You've got the contract, let's go win this thing, and the business will take care of itself next offseason. I think there's something to be said for that. Do I want to interrupt? I'm enjoying the question.
No, I'm waiting. You're fine. We'll get
Tom Pelissaro has just tweeted that. I'm going to read the tweet exactly as it's written here.
Please say Renegade A-Rod.
Renegade A-Rod, 4-time NFL MVP Aaron Rodgers informed the Steelers he'll fly to Pittsburgh on Friday and sign before next week's minicamp. Sources tell the insiders. Renegade A-Rod.
That's the Pittsburgh. It's very clever.
Yeah.
He's not even A-Rod.
No.
He can't even be A-Rod. We have an A-Rod. Sorry, dude.
Renegade Aaron Rodgers.
No,
okay, but
who cares?
I don't need A-Rod there.
Who cares?
Anyway, so that's happening. That seems pretty significant. I mean, at least from a talking about it standpoint. I don't know how big of a deal it's going to be on the field for them, but still.
You just went into this whole thing about how like the players wouldn't respect Cook.
Maybe, yeah. That they would expect him to come in and give them what he's got.
Which is still, I believe, the likeliest scenario. But I still don't think the Bills will let it get to the point where Cook, the proverbial tail between his legs, comes in a week into training camp, like, all right, well, whoops. I think they would want to have him on the team for the next 2 years. I think they would want that. So that fits. Like, then you have a compromise. That if Cook isn't just completely unwilling to come down, which I think, these kinds of things usually the player does do that. So that's my prediction for what happens with him, and that the Bills would just not want scorched earth. Like they're just not a team that has been that way or has incentive to do that right now. I think 8 years ago, sure, you want to get paid? I don't care. You're traded. That's it.
Right.
But other than the fact that he's a running back, and I think that's maybe the only way in to a scenario where they just refuse, like the Brandon Beane and second contracts for running backs. Like, I mean, our guest yesterday didn't, right, Ian? Or maybe Rich Rebar, maybe lots of people have pointed that out. Like, that Beane does not have a history. He has no history of doing that. Other than the position in play here, I just don't think it makes sense for the Bills at all to ignore him, basically.
Well, I don't either think that just because he didn't sign, really, it was Ian Hartitz yesterday who said it, and then said very quickly, it's really only been Devin Singletary. Like that, right? Because Moss was gone before he even got halfway through his second year, I think, or maybe third, whatever. He just never got there. Singletary did. They let him go, and I thought that was the right call. I wouldn't assume that he doesn't want to do something with Cook, but the way that Beane sounded when he last addressed this was that they're so far apart on value that there's no point in continuing to talk because a compromise is not realistic from where you think you want us to get to and where we are, and somewhere in there lies maybe a place where they'd be willing to go to. But it's so far from where he wants to be as it is that what are we even talking about? There's no middle ground here. We don't like your middle ground. Even is way too much for us, if there even is one from Cook's standpoint. So that's why I think it's been most likely all along here that unless Cook really changes his tune, but for Cook's standpoint, this might qualify as sticking up for him. He might want to bet on himself. If he thinks whatever they're offering is so far under, I think my guess is that it is under what he thinks he deserves, that what he would like to do is put down, there's great risk in this, of course, playing a high collision, violent sport where injuries happen all the time. Bet on me. I'm gonna go give you this same year. You don't think I can get 16 touchdowns again, smart guy on the radio? Well, here I come.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do it.
Enjoy your 9.
And then I'm gonna go off into the sunset in free agency.
Oof.
Your best chance to keep me is gone now. And, Cook, they're a good team. He's going to get probably the same workload he had last year. And
all 44% of it.
And expect to produce.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. That to me, there's not – it's not all one way. Like, the Bills don't want to do it. I think that, like I said, I think there probably has been a number they have. It's way below what he's looking for. And so a guy will eventually, sure, you want to stay away from the first mandatory thing of the year? Great. I'm not expecting him at minicamp either. But I wouldn't be surprised if he walked in the first day of training camp and just said, okay, let's go. It's time to go play.
And I just don't think the Bills would show him up like that. To me, that's what I would see that as that, even though he already has that deal. But I think with Barkley and Henry and Swift and Mixon, last year's guys, and then Barkley and Henry again this year, the cap always just shooting up. The money devoted to running backs, it would seem almost militant if the Bills did not give him something. after that season on a team this good. I think maybe 2 years ago it would have seemed more like, no, right, this is fair. Mm-hmm. This is what you should do. But the way everything, with how much has changed in the last 2 years in terms of running backs and money and the cap overall, I think it would come off really badly. This is where I'm sort of on Cook's side, I guess. Like, I think it would come off really badly if the Bills just basically said, no, you have a contract. I mean, that sounds like Ralph Wilson to me a little bit. That sounds like, teams recognize like the situations and when a guy has outperformed his deal, and Cook really has. And if you want to say like I sometimes do, if it's all about offensive line and Josh Allen and everything else, I mean, there were big runs, there were wins, the Chief game. I mean, I feel like he has, and teams when that happens tend to, come across. Anyway, all right. Diamondbacks, this is still the first part of we're still just getting started here.
Yeah, we had Aaron Rodgers is coming to Pittsburgh to sign a contract. The Bills are being dragged back into the Ralph Wilson era here by you.
Yes. Hypothetically.
And yes, we had that wild finish in the baseball game.
Hypothetically, I'm not saying this will I think it won't happen. Rodgers will reportedly travel to Pittsburgh tomorrow and sign and then be at mandatory minicamp. How about that? Next week. I would have guessed, I was assuming he would play for Pittsburgh, but skip all the minicamp stuff and then show up for training camp, kind of like how we played the Jets thing. But, oh, wow, what a guy. He's going to be at mandatory minicamp next week. They say Trysta makes her return. It hasn't been that long.
No, it's been since the spring.
A month?
Yeah, a little more maybe. Like when the NBA playoffs were starting, I think we would have touched base with her.
NFL draft? I don't know. Trysta Crick coming up next. We'll talk about the NBA Finals and the Aaron Rodgers story and more with Trysta. It's always a good time. Travis Yoast today. Edmonton wins Game 1 in overtime. Last night over Florida. Game 2 is tomorrow night. And I've already sort of pinned you on what I think is your most, quote, controversial Bills take. I mean, you might not even agree with that. I had a good one.
So this is what we just talked about is what that's what this is?
Not wanting to pay James Cook anything.
Right. Okay.
To me is like, that would be very weird. I have another one that I thought of last night. News today in the NFL changed this a little bit, but I'm ready with a thing. I'm ready with a Bills idea that you're going to just think is ridiculous. I guess I want to say I hope everybody thinks it's ridiculous.
I think you're ridiculous.
I would be ridiculous to even mention this. But I'm going to do it at some point. Trysta after the break. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, thanks for listening. This is WGR.
He's a pioneer for Canadian basketball. He started the whole thing, I guess you can say, from the way he plays to the way he carries himself to his approach to the game. Like, I learned so much from Steve, from being a 17-year-old kid in 2 weeks of time. That helped me get here for sure. So the things he's done with Canada basketball in a whole and just push the culture forward has been amazing.
Welcome back. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander talking about Steve Nash. This won't necessarily surprise you. I don't know a lot about this player, but I know he's been amazing. Won the MVP. He's been great in the playoffs, putting down kind of historical numbers. And he grew up in Hamilton. So, respect. He moved to Chattanooga in his high school years to play there, then went to Kentucky and to the NBA. Not that our guest on the West Her Hotline doesn't know all of this. Trysta Crick with us. Trysta, mother to Ollie. Do you do that, Trysta? Do you do the thing where you consider your dog like your child?
I'm not sure yet. I think Ollie is a little bit of a different dog than Emma. He's a lot more clingy. He's a lot more baby-like. Emma was 6 months when I got her. He was 4 months when I got him. He's very, you can't really go anywhere without him or he'll squeak and cry. So he's sitting on my lap right now. So I feel a little bit more motherly towards him than I did Emma at her age, at his age.
I hope you're covering his ears while you're talking about him like this. It's awkward. He's right there in your lap.
I know. It's tough.
Dog mom. I've been indulgently texting Trysta videos of my Margot. Just
so adorable.
Racing through the house and,
Chunky.
Pugs, I guess, have a reputation for being fat. And my guy is like a rabbit. I mean, she just runs through the house. You can't even make her out. So when
she's like a blur.
She's a blur.
She's like the smoke monster from Lost.
So exactly right. When a friend of mine, the pug contest started on Underdog, like one of their fantasy contests, too bad the pug, which is fast drafts only, wouldn't be named for a fast dog. I'm like, stop right there. Let me show you. Let me show you something. and then put on the Discord a video of Margot racing through the house. Anyway, Trysta, how's life? I mean, are you out west? How are things going with mom and the deck and all your furniture?
Out west. I just got back from Vegas last weekend. I went on behalf of Meta to the UFC Apex event, which I don't know if you guys are UFC fans, but I've never been to one before, so that was my first one. And it was drama, guys. We had the wife of a UFC fighter get mad that I was filming her, so she put her hands on me. We had yes, that happened. We had the Meta Ray-Ban glasses that I was taking video on, and that was awesome. And I ended up winning on Brahimov by submission, plus 650. He was an underdog in the fight. And
all right, me too.
Guy.
No, I'm kidding.
You had him?
No, I
didn't.
didn't. No, I don't. No, I'm just goofing with you. Go ahead, please. Sorry.
I was gonna say. So I was just out there blindly betting people I didn't really know anything about.
That's the way to do it.
And then the headliners, the two women. One woman, this woman Macy Barber. I feel bad for her because she missed weight by a half a pound, so she was going to have to give 20% of her purse away anyway. Anyway, she had a seizure-like event seconds before a walkout, and they canceled the fight.
Ooh.
Seconds before the fight began, after the hype video.
Oh, wow. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Right, so the lights were down, and it was time for her to come out, and nothing happened. Wow.
Exactly. And I'm like, dude, this feels like it's never happened before. And they're like, this is extremely rare. And so there's been all this tea afterwards, all this drama. The woman that she was fighting, Erin Blanchfield, she was talking hella smack, being like, I'll never fight her again. Her life is a total mess. I should have known she was going to do this to me. And it's like, yo, she's in the hospital. So I did that. That was fun. I was in L.A. for another meeting with Meta. So I've just been traveling a lot. I'll be at Summer League again in Vegas. I did Cameron and Mace. It is what it is this week. So just lots of hits, still doing the podcast, heat check on the NBA. Also have a new podcast that's been out about a month, a little bit more than a month, called Let Her Shoot, which is a all women's sports podcast, which I think is very good.
Nice.
Probably doesn't exist anywhere else. So yeah, it's been busy, very busy. Also starting, I don't even know if I can really announce this yet, but I think I can. Going to be starting as a betting contributor and analyst for NBC, pretty much now, but really more so during football season. So yeah, lots going on.
The star continues to rise. Are you legally prohibited from discussing this incident where this woman put her hands on you? Because I had one question.
No, I'm definitely able to talk about it.
Did it de-escalate on its own, or did security have to intervene, either like personal security, from her end, or just arena security?
Nothing happened. I just did nothing about it. I told no one. I just filmed it, and I put it on the internet. That was it.
Okay.
Who was right? I mean,
probably both of us. She was unhappy that I was filming her without her permission. She was going insane in Polish for her guy, the male headliner, Gamrot, who was winning. And she was screaming obscenities in Polish for probably 10 minutes. So I filmed her. She noticed. She told me in Polish, hey, I don't want you filming me. I don't know Polish. And then she pushed my head, the back of my head forward. Hey, stop. So then I did nothing. I just laughed. And then I was with WNBA player Angel McCoughtry, who is awesome and had my back. And she was like, do you want me to beat that ass? And I was like, no, I don't want you to beat anybody's ass.
That would have been a serious escalation of the situation there.
Yeah,
yes.
I want us to completely be able to come back to any UFC event as guests. There's one in Abu Dhabi that I would love to go to. So let's just keep it friendly and move on.
I think there might have been some possibility that one of yourself or Angel would have been in the ring with the wife in Abu Dhabi after that. Or am I giving UFC too little credit?
I think you're giving up too little credit.
Okay. It's not quite celebrity boxing. There wouldn't have been sort of an undercard.
Really quickly, I was leaving, and the guy that was working the UFC event, he was like, "So now that Macy's not fighting, we need you to step in." I was like, "Absolutely not.
Right.
I do not fight. I don't know anything. I'm no." And he's like, "Yeah. You're about 115, and she's probably 135 after cutting 20 pounds of weight, so you'd get mopped up." And I was like, yes, I'm not a fighter. Yes, you're right.
This is the most UFC there's ever been talked about on this show. I can't even look at it.
Because of violence?
Yeah.
Because of it being violent?
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that, because I was, so this Apex, and I know, you probably don't know anything about it because I didn't.
Nope.
It's 300 people only inside there. It's like a private event.
Oh, wow.
And only family, friends, and VIPs that spend $5,000 or more to go in.
Well, listen, we love you. I love you. Now I understand this woman objecting to your filming her a little bit more.
She thought she was at a private party.
This was not like the Caesar's Palace.
No, it wasn't Caesar's Palace, but I was there to film. That's what I was there to do. So I was supposed to be showing the whole sights and sounds. That's
all right.
my job.
Yeah.
So that's why I said we're both kind of right. She didn't know, but that was what I was supposed to be doing. So where was I going with this about the Apex? So there's 300 people there, and the vibe is very quiet. They don't have they have music going, but they turn it off a lot. And so as the music stops, I'm me and Angel are both having a hard time taking in this. We've never done it. We've never seen it. It's a lot. And I said to her, I just don't really like violence at all. As they shut the music off, and everyone snaps their head back looking at me.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, I mean, to kind of... I meant for me. I'm fine to watch this.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, you're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably right.
Right.
I am in the wrong place.
Well, Trysta, we obviously got you on here. I love catching up here, and I hope our audience appreciates it too. But the NBA Finals begin tonight. First, before talking about the series and how heavy of a favorite Oklahoma City is, did you see them coming before this season began? I put together a 4-team championship parlay in February, and they were at that point plus 200. They were the shortest odds in the whole thing. It was Dallas, and they're dead in the NHL, and the Mets and the Bills, so who cares? But Oklahoma City in February was plus 200, which, says a lot about how they were thought of, I think.
Yeah, I think even last season they were the number one seed in the West. The fact that they got bounced by Dallas in the second round last year in Game 6, I want to say, very surprising, and not something that we really saw coming. Dallas is kind of the scary out-of-nowhere team. OKC probably should have made the finals last year, but they just hadn't seasoned enough. And so they ended up getting, a lot of experience, but they ended up acquiring multiple players that really made them a lot better. Alex Caruso, who is a 6'5" defensive beast and also really great at catching and shooting threes, shoots 40% in that occurrence. And then they got another big man in Isaiah Hartenstein from New York. So they were kind of the favorite and the darling out of the West from the moment that they signed those two. And then obviously having the most amount of regular season wins, the best, defensive rating in the league, the best, just like point differential, and on top of that, just kind of the MVP of the league, right? So, yeah, I think that a lot of people saw them coming. Now, I don't think anyone thought that Boston would be eliminated early, so they thought, this would be a cute finals team that Boston will, use their experience and their championship pedigree to kind of humble a little bit, just like Golden State humbled Boston when they face each other in the finals. But now that Boston's not there, kind of has felt like smooth sailing the entire way, and OKC's kind of been a buzzsaw.
Trysta Crick with us on the Wester Hotline. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So if somebody listening or hosting has not seen an NBA game in a long time, has never seen this player, can you give us some perspective on what kind of a player is he? How good? Because as I mentioned, I think when you came on, the numbers on Alexander or Gilgeous-Alexander this year have been historically good for a playoff run, and he is the MVP. Who does he compare to?
That's a great question. First and foremost, I think for general audiences, SGA is a very slithery, lanky, unguardable scorer. One of the most smooth scorers in the NBA. He's very crafty. He's impossible to speed up. And he's the kind of guy who's as consistent as they come. He's pretty much had 5 consecutive 30-point scoring games and another 4 consecutive game 30-point scoring streak in this playoffs. He's this 6'6" hooper, and he plays almost at a pace that's incomprehensible in the sense that it's almost like a jazz musician, very somewhat frenetic, somewhat like that. He moves like water, kind of like Bruce Lee. So he's got an amazing mid-range game, and that's kind of where he thrives. He's very shifty, but he's also an incredible defender. Even though he's not even close to the best defender on the Thunder, he'll average 2 steals per game and a block per game. He's, all NBA guy. And you think about, if Kobe's footwork met Kawhi's personality, he's just lethal. And he's also an incredible foul merchant, as they say. He can draw fouls like the best of them. But it's also just because he moves in such a, not erratic, but just in such a unique way, almost like the guys outside of the pizza parlor where it's like that little blow-up man that moves weird in the wind.
Yes.
That's kind of how he moves in the paint.
How good a long-range shooter?
He's an okay long-range shooter.
Good enough?
He's not, he's good enough to be scary. He's better than John Morant. He can get you 2-3 threes a game, but he's not somebody that you really want to rely on for that. Not exactly like Luka, but you know how Luka's not overall 3-point percentage great, but when you need him to shoot a 3, he can make one. That's kind of Shai. He's deadly from long range when the lights are the brightest.
So he grew up an hour from here.
He did.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Hamilton, Ontario.
We're claiming him as our own now. I just decided.
I mean, Trysta goes on these shows to talk hoops, and the questions have to be just insanely like detailed and hardcore. And then she comes on with us, like, all right, so tell us about this guy. Who's this guy?
Tell us about the best player in the league.
Tell us about the MVP of the NBA, please. Right. Describe him for us, Trysta.
A lot of people, because you guys, when did you stop watching NBA regularly?
Oh, man. It wasn't by choice so much. Like, I don't have any hatred toward the league. There are people who do. Like, it just sort of, they turn their back to it. That's not me. But it's mostly just, like, since kids, you know, and I've got baseball at night. I've got hockey at night if I want to watch sports. And NBA would come in third.
For me, it was when I realized I didn't need it to do this effectively. Like, it just wasn't subject matter. You know, like, when you start doing a job like this, you want to know everything that's going on everywhere all the time, which is impossible, but it's what you think you need to do, right? If someone's going to call me and ask me about a guard on the Oklahoma City Thunder at 9:30 at night on a Wednesday, you
better have an answer.
I'm going to want to know. I'm here by my. You're coming to me. I want to try to be here for you, but I realized, quite a few years ago that wasn't realistic, and it didn't ever really happen. And so, I don't have anything. I love a good basketball game, but it's not. I'll always watch something that I think may help me do this in favor of it. So if there's a hockey game on, we talk way more hockey than probably almost any other show in the United States. And so I'm going to watch, I'll watch a hockey game instead because something might happen in it that will be germane to me doing this.
And you like it more.
And I like it more, yeah.
So I would say for those who stopped watching the NBA a long time ago, the closest comp that people say that Shea is like Clyde Drexler.
I was going to say him. I was about to ask you about him. Yes, great. That's why I asked you how good a shooter he was, because I'm sort of listening to you, and I get to Drexler. But I think that's too long ago. But Drexler was money from distance.
Yeah, I think Shea's 3-point percentage is less than 38%. So I'm trying to get it right now. Just pulled up. Yeah, he's shooting 35% from three right now. And he's not really a high-volume shooter. But again, defenses are going to try to collapse on him. And what the Pacers will do, because from a betting perspective, because that's why I'm on, they're not going to do what so many other teams do, which is they collapse on him. And then they allow, Shea to be a facilitator, orchestrate, paint touches to spray out to the corners is what we see a lot of these great scorers, interior scorers do. But Indiana's not going to allow him to do that. They're just going to allow him to score at will, like they did for Jalen Brunson and they did for Donovan Mitchell. So I think Shea is going to score 30 every single game in this series. And you can bet that for plus 440.
Is Indiana worth 50 cents?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't think so. Only because when you look at the last 20 years, underdogs, with this high of underdogs, plus 500, have never won it ever. And underdogs in game ones that are larger than 5 points are 0-12 straight up and 1-11 against the spread. The last straight up win came in 2004. And that was the Pistons when they beat the Lakers as 8-point underdogs, and then they ended up winning the series. I just don't think that that's a comparable analogy at all. I don't think that the Thunder could lose the series at all. Now, I feel bad for saying that because I have some friends that work in the front office of the Pacers, and when I texted them, hey, congratulations, this is amazing, they responded 4 more. So they're not messing around. They think they can compete, and they're going to have to do a lot. They're going to have to shoot a lot of threes, and they're going to have to hit those threes in order to compete with OKC, and that's definitely possible because they're a great three-point shooting team. I'm just concerned about whether they're going to be able to do that 4 times.
Okay. So would you bet under 5.5 games?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I think this is a 5-game series. That's what I believe. But all bets are off if Indiana was to win game 1 or game 2 because OKC hasn't been a great road team. They probably should have lost all 3 games to Denver on the road. They probably should have lost 2 games to Memphis. They were down 50, and they ended up winning that game. And they won game 4 by 2 points. And then they only won against Minnesota by 2 in Game 4 as well. So
And lost the other one by 1 million.
And lost the other one by 1 million. So I could imagine that in Indiana's probably going to be get at least one.
All right. Maybe a sweep is the bet then. Probably plus money on a sweep, I would think. Maybe not?
Wouldn't play that.
No.
Wouldn't play that.
Okay. Gentleman sweep. 3-0, then they lose Game 4 by 100, and then they win Game 5 at home. That's better anyway.
Yeah, or they lose Game 3. That's the game that usually they've lost.
Okay,
I remember correctly off the top of my head.
That's right about the last round. Very good, Trysta. Any questions for us?
And you guys, what are you guys watching?
Oh, yeah, right. I'm watching The Dish with Kish. The sort of
Dish with Kish.
Sidecar to Top Chef. Kristen Kish, I mean, just could not be a better host. Could not be a better, all the boxes. And she does this like side show where it's other Top Chef contestants through the years, where they come on and it's a challenge or they're making something together. Just a super, like yourself, a super likable personality. So last night I watched, I think, 3 of those.
Oh,
and
I
then,
know Kristen Kish. She's a baddie. I remember when she was on Top Chef.
Oh.
Yep, I remember her. She's South Korean, right? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Nothing new on my end. I'm watching Succession. I never had watched a minute of it, so I'm in like halfway through season 2 of that. So I got a ways to go there. Nothing new caught my. I tried to. Did you come across the John Hamm Apple TV thing?
It's so good. It's so good.
You like it?
Slow though.
Friends and I could not.
Yeah.
I watched 4 episodes and wanted to just hit every single character in the face with a shovel, and I was like, I'm out. I just can't.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
You're not into the eat the rich shows. I could tell that about you. That makes sense.
I also hated The White Lotus. Same thing.
Yeah.
But now Succession is all about billionaires, and they're all contemptible. They're all jerks. I mean, they're awful, but it's somehow compelling. It works for me in a different way than those
Business
shows.
Business strategy, very compelling.
Yeah.
Just like Billions, the show Billions.
Right.
Also, for those who haven't seen it, Mobland is fantastic. That is, I don't know if I've said this before coming on the show, but it's Tom Hardy, it's Pierce Brosnan, it's Helen Mirren, and I think those are the top 3. What a
Those are
cast.
some actors, yeah, right.
And the
Right.
guy from House of the Dragon that was the king who ended up dying and having half of his face missing.
Careful.
He's in it as well. I don't know his name, but he's excellent, great actor. And it's about a mob family. And they're like an Irish-British sort of mob family living in London. And it is incredible.
Finally, a television drama about a mob family. Am I right? Finally.
Can't get enough of those.
What
right?
is the name of that? Because I feel like
Mobland.
maybe I've seen some of that. Okay.
Mobland.
All right.
Mobland. Tom Hardy. Tommy Hardy's fantastic, by the way.
Kristen Kish. Your Kristen Kishes, your Tom Hardys, your Trysta Cricks. Thank you, Trysta. So excited to hear about your life and appreciate your time today.
I'll see you guys soon. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Trysta Crick right there. Travis Yoast coming up. Your Trystas, your Travises. Another show great. Another great guest.
And onward and upward for her. She's doing great.
I know. Next time, we're on borrowed time with her.
Yeah, no, I know. She's not going to answer our calls.
I'm in Abu Dhabi. I'm not fighting.
Right.
Don't worry about me.
We're gonna need those Ray-Ban video or whatever the Meta whatever. She's living in like private UFC fights. Like, what?
I know.
What?
We're gonna need you in Vegas and then LA tomorrow.
What is happening?
We're gonna need you.
Yeah, she's coming here to go get wings with me anytime soon. What are you kidding?
Well, we'll see what happens in January, maybe. We will talk to Travis Yoast about the Sabres, the finals, the Bills. He loves the Bills. That'll be after the update. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
stir 'em. And the NBA Finals, they get going tonight. OKC hosts Indiana. Both franchises looking for their first championships. Tip-off later tonight at 8:30. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I gotta wonder what kind of working relationship he'd have with Satan.
It's Mike Schopp.
I've often wondered that.
Like he, they, I don't know what his pronouns are, or their pronoun. Anyway, Satan.
And the Bulldog.
What's the upside of doing well?
Well, maybe they're too busy making everyone else's life hell.
Oh, boy.
And you might just be able to do your own thing if you're partnered with Satan.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
They're too busy, making Scott Norwood miss field goals.
Oh, come on.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Welcome back. What a great day already. Trysta Crick, who is always so much fun, and now Travis Yoast from TSN. Another great guest through the years we have not had the pleasure of chatting with in a while. Or have you and Bulldog been talking privately, Travis? What is the story?
Constantly. He won't leave me alone. He's all up in my DMs, this Travis.
And we have all this spare time too. We just catch up daily, yeah.
Yes.
We compare cardio exercise routines. Yes. Me on my bike, Travis with his
that's
running.
It.
Yeah.
Now I fully understand not being in on that on the group chat. All right, Travis. Well, welcome to the finals, a rematch, great teams, and a great opener. What is there to say about Florida, Edmonton that hasn't maybe been said already or often enough?
Man, you know what it is? I'll say a couple things. Number one, not every championship rematch is something you necessarily want to see, right. But I actually think this is a pretty good one. It's hard to look back at where the playoffs started and not have these two teams as two of the five-ish most likely teams to appear in the Stanley Cup. That's number one. Number two, I think from like a matchup dynamic standpoint, it's fascinating because, I have all the respect in the world for the Carolina Hurricanes, and I thought Dallas was a fantastic team, and neither one of them offered up much in the conference finals. Now, yes, you could re-simulate that series and maybe it's closer, but the sheer depth and capabilities of Florida down the lineup. I mean, I wrote this week about how unbelievable their middle six forward group is. It's one of the best middle six forward groups I've seen in some time in Florida. Against this absolute juggernaut two-headed monster that it seems impossible to keep McDavid and Draisaitl off a score sheet. It's kind of funny. Earlier, about a month ago, I was catching flack, as usual, from Maple Leafs fans who didn't like how critical I was of their core forwards and specifically how frequently they disappear in the playoffs. And, one of the common arguments I got is, well, it's so much harder to score in the playoffs. I'm like, not really. Not in the last 10, 15 years. No, it's not. You go out to Nikita Kucherov, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. You go down and down the list. A lot of these guys score at or above their regular season rates. I am blown away at how dynamic they are. There's very little I could say that's refreshing or new in the McDavid Draisaitl, how dominant they are as a tandem. But man, like if you watch last night's game, like Florida looked fantastic through stretches, and still there really is no answer when a team has probably the two best players in the world on the same team. I think this is going to be a great series. I think Florida has answers. I think they have a goaltending advantage, which kind of neutralizes some of it. But there was a reason this series was a pick-em. It wasn't because the talent was even on paper. It was because McDavid and Draisaitl they are the ultimate erasers. I mean, you can run three lines. You can run a terrible third pairing. They are able to erase almost anything.
I think McDavid, I've been thinking about this in this way, Travis, and Mike, I haven't mentioned this to Mike yet, that McDavid is more unlike maybe any other superstar player. Maybe Mario is the only other one that might compare to me to the point I'm about to make, where someone who's barely ever a very casual hockey fan, like knows about the sport but doesn't really follow it. I feel like most of the other superstars of the last 30, 40, 50 years, you would turn on a game and they might just sort of blend in. Like they might score the goals, but like watching the game, you wouldn't immediately have it be apparent to you who the guy is, right? McDavid, the way he moves around the ice, the speed with which he attacks and handles the puck at the same time, I think that stands out more than maybe anyone I've ever watched play hockey.
I not only do I totally agree, I have struggled. I was actually asked this question a couple months ago. I think it was in Winnipeg radio. We were talking about the Oilers, and the only comparable player that I can come up with that has such a, first off, just an otherworldly talent, right? So you're talking maybe two handfuls of guys at best. First ballot generational Hall of Fame player. The only thing that you can even remotely denote on McDavid's record is that he hasn't won a cup yet, by the way, and the strong emphasis on yet. The only player that I can think of that I can draw a line and say these two guys, they connect in a way that makes sense to me, and it's going to sound funny. It's LeBron James, and it's when you watch LeBron in his prime, not only was he the most magnetic player on the court, whether he had the ball or whether he was spacing in the offensive zone or he was defending, your eyes were on him no matter what. That's number one. Number two, at any moment, he can break the game wide open. And number three, most importantly, the physical attribute sliders are just to 99. Now, with LeBron, it's a little more size, strength, speed, like this combo package of insanity, whereas McDavid, it skews a little bit more towards speed and agility specifically, but it's not like he's a tiny guy either. I mean, He can play with real force. LeBron is the only player I can come up with where I can say, whether you're a casual fan or a hardcore hockey fan, I can say, the guy who McDavid most resembles is blank. For me, that's LeBron, which sounds crazy. But, McDavid starts winning cups. I don't think that's going to sound crazy anymore.
I don't think it sounds crazy. We all know the difference between the two sports and how much less control the very best player on the ice has over a hockey game than the basketball comparison. Can I throw out one more name? I don't think it's better than these names, but when I close my eyes and think of a McDavid play, he's going end to end. He's going right through you. He's too fast for the defense to adjust, and it's over. And to me, there's a Lindros quality to that. But Lindros, was huge and not the same quite skill level. But that's his play for me, is he's just going right up the middle, and you can't deal. So, not quite on the same level.
Eric Lindros is a great one. Slightly bigger, no doubt, played a little more physical. But, the way he could single-handedly dominate the flow of the game, I think that's 1-to-1. I know this is also going to sound a little weird, but, if someone put Ilya Kovalchuk in a lab and said, actually, we're going to take your speed to 99 and then recreate you, that would be Ilya Kovalchuk would be another version of that. Kind of in the Lindros argument where it's like this guy, wherever he is on the ice, can go end to end at any point. And there's nothing you can do. And Kovalchuk did that in his prime. Lindros made a career of it. Injuries obviously kind of broke down the back end of it. But I think the point is this that we're all saying, right? There really is no 1-to-1 clean comparable for this guy because he is that good. He is that dominant. I even watch him in comparison, and I say this with the utmost respect and deference to Leon Draisaitl, who I think is the second best player in the world. And I ask myself, how big of a talent gap is there between those two? Yeah. I don't think it's insignificant. I think McDavid is that much better than Draisaitl, which is an insane thing to say.
Yeah, right. I'll add to the insanity. Draisaitl is more of an ordinary superstar. I feel like I've seen guys like Draisaitl, throughout my life. McDavid, I just don't think there's ever been anyone like him.
I think the messaging too, and I know we've beaten the NHL up many times over. The league, I know Edmonton's kind of this niche market for Americans and U.S. hockey fans. It's kind of like this town in the city in Alberta that doesn't have a sports team other than a hockey team. Like ESPN, TNT, the NHL should have this guy front and center 24/7, 365. The same way the NBA did it with LeBron and Curry, the same way the NFL does it with their superstars. I know it feels a little different because the NHL is not this type of league where it is so star-specific driven, but he really is a unicorn like this in all of the right ways. And to me, Even when I have casual friends who just check in for the Stanley Cup for that matter. And I'm sure you guys saw it last night, whether it's your Twitter timeline, which, by the way, that was a fun read today. You check it out. You check it out last night, and you just see random football personalities like, what is going on with this number 97?
Right.
He's different.
I love with my daughter's teams and her tournaments, if there's a 97, that's the number now. If there's a 97 on the other team,
look out for that person.
Look out, and they better live up to it. I mean, you can't just go pick 97 if you're not if you're not capable of taking the game over. With Travis Yoast from TSN here on WGR. Leaf fans getting into you, and they think you're from Toronto. You're supposed to be on their side, Travis. I'm sure that's still part of that discourse. Anyway.
I get killed, man. I get killed. They say first off, if I write anything positive about Toronto, and I will tell you, you can go read, 12-year catalog now with TSN. I've got plenty of Austin Matthews, one of the greatest players in the world, type articles, and comparing his early, mid-career trajectory to Ovechkin and the like, and there's plenty of that out there. But if you ever point out that these guys are routinely and reliably playoff underperformers, it's like you said the worst thing on the planet. And the part I don't really understand is I have never made the, well, they lost, so it must be bad argument. It's like statistically, the guys at the top of the lineup that you see dominate every regular season, and it's incapable of slowing their offense down for long stretches during the regular season. They disappear about as reliably as you can find. I don't think it's James Harden NBA bad, but it's pretty close. I mean, and you can go one by one. I think the one guy who's kind of built his reputation back is a Will Nylander.
Mm-hmm.
But Mitch Marner has worn this for years, probably reasonably so. John Tavares has come under a little bit of scrutiny recently. Obviously, the players, Kyle Dubas, the coaching staff changes, those guys directly wore it. But for some reason, when you bring Matthews into the fold, it's like, well, now it's a bridge too far. And it's like, I don't really think it is. I think you have to have standards for these insanely good players. And when I watch McDavid or Barkov or Draisaitl and on and on and on, these guys routinely impress in the postseason, whether their team wins or loses. It's very hard to make an argument that these guys are the reason their team loses, whereas in the case of Toronto, it is a frequent argument that these big goal differentials that they build up over the regular season, we won the division, they get into the playoffs, and they're barely breaking even against first or second round competition. I mean, that is a fundamental change, and until the Maple Leafs figure that out, it's going to remain that way. And I do think this is going to be, finally, I think this is going to be the summer where you see real change. And I do think if I were a betting man, come October, whatever opening night day is, I don't think Mitch Marner is on the Maple Leafs. I think this is a ripcord they're ready to pull now.
At this point, I'd be stunned if he were on the Maple Leafs.
Totally agree.
The way it reads, yeah.
When are any of these Sabres going to produce in the playoffs? That's the thing. When is our team going to at least get that test? I don't know.
Well, if they finally do make it, then we could have maybe 14 years of needing to learn how to win in the playoffs, as opposed to just learning how to win, in general.
Yeah.
Can I make a request? Can I make a placeholder request before I answer?
Please, go ahead. When
the Sabres make it, I'm 35, coming on 36 now. When the Sabres qualify for the playoffs, might be next year, I might be 72 years old. You're going to have me on before game one, round one, because we're going to be, the excitement is going to be through the roof. Now I will answer your question, which is, when are they going to break through? I'll tell you what they should not do, which I keep reading, and I don't know if it's agent driven or what. In the pantheon of really bad ideas, I think trading J.J. Peterson really is up there. I mean, I understand that the Sabres need to consistently make. They're not alone, by the way. There are teams in this kind of like the treadmill of mediocrity where, whether you're in this lengthy drought or not, the team isn't playoff ready yet. So you feel like you have to tinker. You feel like you have to invest. I think that's the right thing for any front office. But some ideas are just bad, and I can't for the life of me understand what a J.J. Peterka trade does to this organization. Like, who is the player they're getting that improves this team when you trade Peterka? I mean, if on a rate basis, if you looked at Peterka's production relative to any of his forward peers over the last 2-3 years, he's in the top 2, top third percentile in the entire league. And to me, the question you typically ask in those scenarios is how do we get this guy more ice time, and how do we get him better line mates, and how do we find the perfect fit for him? Not who can we trade him for, because it's like, okay, and by the way, Dallas is having a similar conversation. I'd say that's a little more cap specific, but like, okay, you're trading Jason Robertson. What are you getting, right? And it's like, I don't really know how this is advancing the team, and it's very hard to make a player for player. Not impossible, we've seen it, but it's very hard to make a true player for player trade and net better improve your team unless you really have identified some sort of inefficiency in your lineup, or you think the player across the aisle is being undervalued. It just seems like an idea that's out there, and maybe the agent wants it, maybe the player even wants it, but I don't understand how they improve by trading.
Man, that's such a great point. The Sabres did Middlestat for Byram the year before last, and I mean, respectfully, they gave themselves so much credit for that, and they got some credit for that, but I think it's an example of what you just said. Like, well, we might be a little forward heavy, defense light, but neither guy ends up helping you. I don't know. Not everybody would say that about Byram, and I'm terrified they'll sign him. By the
way, who's the other name in all these trade discussions right now? If it's not Peterka, it's Bowen Byram. I mean, I saw last week 2 different reports that his name is at least out there on the trade block.
Good.
So, how much credit do you really get for a swap that lasted 18 months?
Right, Middlestat's gone too.
To Boston. Yes. Travis, on that, it's very hard for me. This is the drought and the reputation of the organization and the general manager being retained for going into a 6th season despite absolutely no success whatsoever of any kind. I feel like any guy that they want to trade, I guess that the speculation comes from inside the house. That because Adams suspects or believes, has been told directly by the player or his agent, I don't want to be a part of this. I'm not signing a 7-year deal with you. I want to go somewhere where you can win the Stanley Cup, whether there's palm trees and taxes or not. And so that's what I think. Like Byram, when asked about wanting to be a part of the future here, sounded about as non-committal as you can possibly sound. I haven't heard from Peterka on the issue, but my guess is that is what is behind it.
First off, I think that's Occam's razor, which sucks. Mm-hmm. But and by the way, I'll say 2 things here. One, the Sabres aren't alone in this. Go read some Brock Besser quotes in Vancouver and see how that exit went. And it's like, Vancouver's letting a really good, second line forward literally walk because of the mismanagement and the inability to develop a contender and everything else that was going on in Vancouver. But it's no different in Buffalo. And I know this is the feedback loop from hell, but until the team starts winning, they are going to continue dealing with this problem. And you saw it with the Bills. That no free agent ever wanted to really sign with the Bills, not a high-end one, unless the money was incredible. And when the money gets too incredible, the team doesn't want to do it, and you really need some sort of franchise game changer. The thing that bothers me about the Sabres, though, and we've talked about this for, it feels like almost 2 years, you could put on any Sabres game over the last 2 years and watch them play extremely competitive hockey, up-tempo, fast-paced, especially 5-on-5. And then you look at the aggregate results and you're like, this is extremely unimpressive. I actually was – I'm glad you said it. I was surprised that they are letting the front office continue at this point. Some research I've done, actually plenty I've done as I age now, I have completely memory hold and forgot. But one thing I will never forget is – most teams are out of a real rebuild. So I call it at least a bottom 5 finish in a regular season, followed by what you did over the next N number of seasons. Teams that bottom out like that, by and large, have already returned to the playoffs by year 4. And I think it was like 80 to 85% of these teams return to the playoffs by year 5. Here we are in year infinity with the Sabres, and certainly year 6 under this front office's watch. To me, if you're an owner and you're not aware of how long rebuilds should take, you're being sold a song. And by the way, we kind of saw that. You look in the division. We talked about this team as a comparable for several years now. The Senators were a 7-year rebuild. It was painful. It was clear the front office, despite acquiring valuable, soon-to-be impact prospects, and like you could see what they were building in the covers, and you could see the talent coming through, and they finally broke through this year. But you never had any confidence in the prior general manager, none whatsoever, and eventually he was fired. And I do wonder why that wasn't the case this summer. But it sounds like they're going to run it back.
Did some quick math. Travis mentioned his age, so he was 17. Or maybe had just turned 18 when the Sabres last won a round. That would have been in the 07 playoffs when I was 35, which is Travis's current age.
I was getting ready to ship off to college, so that is correct. And I may or may not have remembered those playoffs, by the way, for any number of reasons.
Well, listen, anytime you want a refresher, that's all we know about.
Right.
Don't ask me what happened in the last decade, but I'll tell you 2007 up and down.
I tell everyone I know the WGR guys can break down the 2006-07 Stanley Cup playoffs like no other group can.
I think I could probably tell you every final score of every one of those games, both years. I think I probably could. But let's not do that. Travis, just before you go, a quick Bills thought. I feel like there are fair, critical type questions about their build, but all of them just get smacked down by what happened last year, unless you want to take it into the singular sample of the playoffs or the fourth quarter of the Kansas City game or something. But a lot of run, again, in here with wide receiver and overall offensive talent that just is sort of like maybe by some laughed at because of, last year's offensive and team success.
I haven't been on yet to ask you guys. I know you guys are just adjacent. I wish I was on a little closer to ask you why they didn't go receiver at the draft. I will say, I actually thought that was a really good, typical, team that's won all the time. You're arguing at the margins. And I by the way, I thought Jeremy and those guys made a fair point. If you ask me as just a fan on the sidelines, right? What is the area of concern? It's if Keon Coleman doesn't take a step forward this year, it's not that I don't like their wide receivers, and it's not that I don't think they can score a ton of points. But the argument that being really typically made was basically we're set up so that it's not a need. It's a nice to have. I mean, I'm really stretching it, but I don't necessarily know if that's true. I mean, his point is totally valid that they were a scoring machine, and almost all of it is born from the quarterback on down. But you saw a couple games last year where they could. You don't have it's a standard X receiver in the lineup, and if Keon Coleman doesn't become that guy, and he's just a guy out there, I still think they're a little thin at receiver, in terms of the personnel they may need. But I think you look around the rest of the wide receiver room, and you're like, yeah, there's plenty of talent here. We have a humanoid at quarterback. We can make this work. I will tell you this. I was not opposed to their very draft heavy, we're going to get heavy in the box and attack the quarterback style at the draft. Whether that was, hey, we went after BPAs or this was a need or a combination of the two, the part of that team that always gave me the most heartburn, and I think has been true for 2-3 years now, is whenever they play a high-end team, the question of where did the pass rush go was common question, right? And obviously the Von Miller deal didn't really work out. And they have talent on the defensive line, but I loved going aggressive and going after and getting TJ Sanders. I love them filling the cornerback need in the first round. I think they had to address the defense, so I thought they did a great job at the draft. I think the wide receiver piece is the only part that gives me a little heartburn. But to Bean's credit, in his fairness, this is earned equity. His point is totally valid. The offense can score. They've shown they can score. They've never really had a problem scoring. You just would really hope that either Coleman or especially Kincaid takes a big step forward this year. So we will find out about that.
Travis, so great to talk to you again. Thanks so much.
Take care, guys.
Travis Yoast, TSN, happens to be a Bills fan. He's not from Toronto.
No.
Which, you people have overcome that. 803-0550. Want to piggyback on some of what Travis had to say on the Bills, or even Connor McDavid. I mean, in his own way, McDavid is kind of depressing because of how close the Sabres were, but it's also so long ago. I don't know. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. We'll be right back. This is WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day alright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go! All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster.
It has been rumored for much of the offseason, but Aaron Rodgers is in fact signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The deal is expected to become official tomorrow when he travels to the city, and it will be a one-year contract. Colts, though, are going to be without quarterback Anthony Richardson when they get to mandatory minicamp next week. He is dealing with a shoulder injury, and head coach Shane Steichen went on to further say they hope to have Richardson back by training camp. And the Ravens, they lock up wide receiver Rashad Bateman to a 3-year extension. It is worth $36.75 million. $20 million of that is guaranteed. Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final will be tomorrow in Edmonton. The Oilers hold a 1-0 series lead following Leon Draisaitl's overtime winner last night. Today, though, the Boston Bruins announced their next head coach, LA assistant and former Bruin Marco Sturm. The NBA Finals, though, have their turn tonight as they get going. Game 1 in OKC as the Thunder host Indiana. Both franchises looking for their first championship tip-off in just a little while at 8:30. And the Bisons, they're in Syracuse versus the Mets at 6:30. That game will be over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Here's McDavid. Out for Nugent Hopkins. Out of the point, Bouchard. Nugent Hopkins with it. Here's McDavid. Out in front. Score! Leon Draisaitl. The Oilers win game 1.
Kenny Albert, TNT, Edmonton 4, Florida 3, Draisaitl 31 seconds left in overtime. And that comes on the heels of a dreaded delay of game, puck over the glass penalty by Florida's Nosek about a minute prior. Embarrassingly, I must tell you, a coworker and I were just walking around the office, and he said, "What did you think of the game last night?" I said, "I didn't see it.
I don't have the channel.
I don't have TNT." He's like, "Oh." I think he was processing, like, you don't have...
How do you... What? Yeah.
I'm not going to see the finals, I guess. I just can't handle any more of these streams.
Yeah.
And TNT has the French Open, which I would like to be watching too. So I'm not willing to juggle, cancel one, sign up here, then cancel that, then sign up, go back there. I just will not.
Yeah, I did that last year for the playoffs because of TNT. I had YouTube TV, which has that channel, but doesn't have the Sabres on MSG, which is why I have Fubo as my main streamer. But since then, because our friend Nick Bakay had a show on Max/HBO, which is now rebranding itself back to HBO Max, I think, so yay. That'll surely end the confusion about what to call it, I'll bet. I got that, and I've kept it, and that's how I'm getting the hockey. So I'm justifying keeping another app that's, I don't even know, somewhere between $10 and $20. I don't think it's more than $20. It's definitely not more than $20 a month, but it's probably more than $10. I don't even know for sure. Because who cares about money when you're working in AM radio in Buffalo? I'm justifying keeping that subscription because I can get the hockey. But, that'll end in another week. So I don't know what I'll do.
Yep.
Maybe I'll bail.
Sal's going to join us at 5.
Great.
Can I tell you my idea last night? When I wasn't watching the Stanley Cup Finals, and I was watching the Dish with Kish, and then eventually Super Bowl 7.
You can, just real quick. TNT was really aggravating me earlier. First round of the playoffs, they didn't have broadcast crews in Canadian buildings. And I just thought that was just so embarrassing and lazy. Maybe the very day that I went off on it finally on the air, that evening, Darren Pang and whoever, they were there. Like, Darren Pang was between the benches in Winnipeg or somewhere anyway. So they stopped. I don't think it was because I was yelling about it, obviously.
I'm sure it wasn't.
But they changed. Me too. So that said, the coverage, they are obliterating ESPN.
Oh, yeah?
And it's not this. I like Sean. My favorite crew doing a game would be McDonough and Ray Ferraro. And they're ESPN. But everything else around it, like Kenny Albert's excellent. I don't have much time for Ed Olchuk, really. I like Brian Boucher. I was relieved when the game started. Like, as long as you keep Darren Pang out of my hair, but there he is, like with a report from the Zamboni entrance or something. Like, oh my God, he makes me insane. Oh, but overall, the production, the pregame, the intro last night was just tremendous. I think they're doing a really good job with hockey. Turner, I really like what they're doing. How it all looks and sounds.
I wish them well.
All right, what was your idea?
Keep telling me about it.
Right. Sorry, it was an ad for you to make sure you find your way to TNT at some point. No.
I watch like 5 things, and 2 of them I can't get on my main service. Why don't I just replace it? I get frustrated by it all so easily.
Yeah.
I feel like I cannot win the war.
Right.
It's just going to be, like I said, I'll add something and then that'll go away, and I'll just I just don't have the energy, I think, to sort of keep on the front of my feet when it comes to this stuff, and I just am going to drown in it.
Yeah, I am really bad at adding and deleting and playing that game. I just don't keep after it at all. So I totally get that. I did not. In fact, it may have taken me like a week or two after the playoffs ended last year to remember, I got to cancel that YouTube thing. Like I don't need that anymore. That's $70 a month or something. Like, get out of here with that.
Last night, I had enough time. I know I did a draft late last night. It was probably around then, 10, 11 o'clock, where I started my notes for today, which I usually, 4 to 5 days, I will not do that until the day of. But last night, because of this one idea, I had to go ahead and make a 6/5/25 document because, and I wish I could remember why I had the thought, if there was some news about him. There was news about him today, and it wasn't out last night. Anthony Richardson is going to be out, Indianapolis quarterback, through into training camp. The coach hopes to have him back for training camp because of a shoulder injury. This is a shoulder that shut down his season 2 years ago very suddenly. Well, I guess that's what's going to happen, right? But it was a game where he had scored a couple of rushing touchdowns against the Texans, I believe. And then maybe even on the second one of those plays, he went down and, Richardson, out for the year. Rookie, he was showing some promise, needed a lot of work, raw, right? But out for the year. AC joint, just like a huge bummer. Now he's got an injury to the same shoulder. One of my co-hosts on ADP Chasing, Jacob Sanderson, is a Colts fan. And he has been, these guys have takes. He has been strong since whenever they signed Daniel Jones, months, that Daniel Jones would start week 1. Mm-hmm. And this is a guy who's listening to every press conference, consuming all the content. I'm telling you, the Richardson thing is over. They're going to turn to Daniel Jones. Now, we don't know if he would have been right, but he had convinced me. Mm-hmm. And maybe it was because in this draft, I've been drafting Daniel Jones, he goes after all the starters go, people just don't even look at quarterback anymore. And this guy's probably, I feel like Jacob's probably right. He's going to start week 1. Now, almost definitely he is. One of the key words in the coach comments has been consistency. They've got a competition that they set up there, and they want to see consistency. Well, Anthony Richardson is not going to he is not going to impress in that area. What he is going to give you is the chance for real upside, and he's also a huge organizational investment. Consistency is not it. I made a special, case of getting the sheet ready for today that the Bills should trade for Anthony Richardson. Now, he has a shoulder injury, and I have no idea, what would a trade for him be? The Niners and Trey Lance, who was a high pick, similar, they got to a point where they were out. And that's after Brock Purdy showed up as the very last pick of his draft and did well. And so they traded Lance the following offseason to Dallas for a 4th-round pick. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, sunk costs. But we don't need him anymore. Purdy's going to be our guy. Goodbye. Now, this is Daniel Jones. But I wonder, and now there's an injury, but I wonder if the Colts would want to move him. And if they do, it's cheap. And I just think, when the Bills played, you know what I'm going to say next, I think. When the Bills played Indianapolis last year, Joe Flacco got that game. Richardson was healthy. And they had 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 in that game. There were 2 or 3 plays where the Colts could not convert.
Never thought to use them.
They never put him in. It's just insane that a team would be so stubborn or stupid to not use a guy like that in those situations. It's not the tush push exactly, but it's almost, he's unstoppable. He's so big. You would just think you'd have a much better chance of converting those plays with Richardson. So I just think some team could use him like that and maybe get more out of him and develop him.
That team being the Bills, I don't think is insane. Because we talked about it yesterday. It comes up every offseason at some point, and however much you want to invest in the conversation, that often depends on maybe the mood we're in and what sort of mood the fans are in and what kind of input we get. But limiting Josh Allen's running, either through a measured tactical decision, we want to have him do this less because he's getting older, and we want him to have less wear and tear on his body and expose him to less injury or whatever, or it's just going to happen naturally as it will at some point, unless he's superhuman. I just don't expect him to be leaping over tall linebackers in a single bound 3 years from now anymore. I just don't think he'll be that player anymore. Richardson, I mean, it's a pretty long view, but he's a way to keep that part of your offense relatively intact. Now, you're losing, the part of the brilliance of having a guy like Allen is you just never know when it's coming, necessarily. Although on 3rd or 4th and 1, it's pretty easy to diagnose when it's coming. And so if nothing less, you use the player for that. But having a runner as an option as a backup quarterback isn't a terrible fit to me. The question I would want to know, and I can't possibly know this, I don't want to base my entire judgment on whether or not this is a good idea on him removing himself from the game last year because he was tired. Like my overreaction to that is, how many other things does he not understand about the way football works? Like, is this just a guy that just doesn't get it on numerous levels, right? Maybe not just football. Is he just lacking for some sort of natural social interaction intelligence or something? I don't really need a guy like that on my team as a backup quarterback, or really as holding water bottles, frankly. But if all of that is just a gross overreaction to a mistake that was embarrassing, and you should know better if you're going to play quarterback in high school or college and now in the NFL. But if those boxes could get checked in a way that, like, you could sign off on it, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But that's a big if to me. Like, I would need to know that this isn't just some lost sheep who's collecting a check.
Yeah, there would be a range of opinions on that, just like there was on the outside, on what that play was, that decision was.
Yeah.
But, Ross, maybe Eric Wood, like Ross went in on him. Just football guys, they don't want to hear it. You take yourself out. And my thing the whole time was just stay down.
Yeah.
Get up limping or something.
I'm definitely with the football guys. I mean, not that I need to really clarify. I think you know that. Like and I'm not always, but like in this case, I just, dude, like what? So now, I mean, I think without the injury, he was still losing that job, like your friend was saying. And I feel like that all really started to unravel for him in that moment.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
that is a damaging thing within a team framework. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if they'd like to move him. I mean, he's damaged now, so I doubt anything happens maybe until that's cleared up. So we'll see maybe later in the summer. But I'm not completely closed down to it because I loved the prospect. The athlete was very intriguing.
He's not really tradable now. That's a huge sell low with the injury.
Right.
The injury, it's a shoulder thing, like kind of like Watson, where it might make you wonder if he's going to make it physically. You can't just keep getting your passing arm shoulder injured and you just have it just go on like you were. Sal's coming up at 5. We might throw this at him. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go! All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to
What a start today. We you won't guess it unless you were here. The Diamondbacks comeback win over the Braves. That wasn't even complete when we started talking about that game. Nothing that incredible about it. Well, pretty incredible. It'll be one of the comebacks of the year in baseball. 7-run ninth to win 11-10. The Braves called up Craig Kimbrell, apparently, after the game because they're so distraught about their late-inning relief.
I did something last night. I saw something incredible. I saw something that made enough of an impression on me last night on my way home that when I walked in the door, the first thing I did was get my iPad. I had my iPad with me. I just quickly entered into the search bar, Chevy Blazer Star Trek Edition. I saw a car. It passed me. I was turning right, and it came through the intersection, like across me, going the same way I was turning to. That was such a color, a gold color that I had never seen. Like, it really stood out to me, this color of this car. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, that's really something. But I didn't notice anything else other than the color of the car. It went ahead. I turned right on red and caught up to it, in the next light. And I pull up next to this car, and it's got Star Trek insignias on it. Like, not anything, like, just like that you would look like it came from the manufacturer. Like, between the rear window and the back window, the back, like the hatchback.
Okay, I could believe that they would make that.
Yeah, I just, that, and then the back of it had the same, like the Star Trek emblem, basically, that they wear on the shirts, I guess, the logo.
Yes.
And I thought, and as the car pulled away, there was a vanity plate, Star Trek vanity plate. Like, okay, but still, I thought, would they be making? Is there enough of a market? Would they have made 1,000 Chevy Blazer Star Trek editions?
I say yes.
It turns out no.
Oh,
because Star Trek Chevy Blazer did not. There were no results. So yeah, what I did then was I Googled Chevy Blazer color choices, and this came right up. And on the search page were pictures of people in Star Trek shirts, and it matches the gold of the car. Like, so somebody out there that loves Star Trek a real lot, I think, saw the color of this car, thought it looked like the color of Kirk's shirt or someone
like
else.
A mustard.
Yeah, right. Like a mustard is perfect. And decided to just go to town fully and turn it into a Star Trek. And it wasn't like, because people do that to customize their cars, and you just think like, oh my God, like, somebody should have stopped you. It's too much. This was subtle enough. Like, the first time it passed me, I didn't even notice. But then I pulled up next to it, there were the logos, and I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. Did the manufacturer do that? No, these people, I think, did it themselves. But good job out there, Star Trek fans, driving that car, because you really nailed it. It was really well done.
It reminds me of my Tootsie Saturn.
Tootsie Saturn. I don't know about this, or should I?
No, you should not, because it's not true. I never customized my first car to look like to commemorate the classic epic Tootsie. I wish I had now, though. Sal next here on WGR.
Attention, Buffalo homeowners, is your roof ready for the next big storm? Well, look no further if it's not than the folks at Amherst Roofing, your trusted local roofers. It's Bulldog here for the folks at Amherst Roofing, where they
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time.
Finally have their answer. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers is going to be signing with the team. The deal is expected to become official tomorrow when Rodgers heads to the Steel City, and then it will be a one-year contract. Other quarterback news, the Colts will be without Anthony Richardson at mandatory minicamp. He is dealing with a shoulder injury. Head coach Shane Steichen went on to further say with the media today that they have hope that Richardson will be back by training camp. The Ravens lock up wide receiver Rashad Bateman, a 3-year extension that is worth $36.75 million. $20 million of that is guaranteed. And NFL insider Jordan Schultz is reporting that Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin has made it clear to Washington he is frustrated with the lack of progress on a long-term deal. McLaurin did report to OTAs, but left before they ended, and now whether or not he will attend mandatory minicamp is unclear. The NBA Finals get going tonight. OKC hosts Indiana. Both franchises looking for their first championships. Tip-off at 8:30. And Bison's in Syracuse versus the Mets at 6:30. That game can be heard over on our sister station, The Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Welcome back. Thanks for listening. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. If you missed anything, check it out on the app, Odyssey. Rewind is what you want there. That makes sense. That's intuitive. With us now in the present, Sal Capaccio on the West Her hotline. Sal, I saw that you were in Rochester today for your Extra Point show.
I'm still in Rochester. I'm literally in Pittsford, right near St. John Fisher right now as I speak to you.
Isn't it great?
I just passed the Pittsford pub.
Isn't it great?
It's great. Yeah, I'll be back out here a little over a month. I had some personal business out here today in the Rochester area, or I had to get some personal business done, and I kind of made it all encompassing. So instead of coming out a couple different times, I said, you know what, I can do A, B, and C, and while I'm doing that, why don't I just come out? And I went to the Rochester Odyssey Studios, and I'm pretty sure you guys have been to that building,
Yep.
but it is fabulous. It's really great. They were very generous to allow me to use the studio where Danger and Battaglia have their show.
Is that in High Falls? I've been to one. It's a long time ago now.
Right, but so when I responded favorably, I was thinking of that spot. Yeah, it was like old warehouse type feel to it, and really nicely done.
Very cool.
Yeah, on Commercial Street, so I'm guessing that's the same spot, but the building is beautiful.
Speaking of old warehousey feels, Aaron Rodgers signing with the Steelers. We've talked so much about him. I don't know if we've talked to you about him and all of this with Pittsburgh. I mean, number one, thank God it's kind of over. The speculation about him, I want to think, is just ended today now that he's reportedly going to be joining the Steelers as of tomorrow. You know, of course, two ways of looking at this, and we don't know how it's going to end, but on one hand, he's got to be considered, I think, an upgrade for over what they have. Maybe you could disagree with that. On the other, what does it do for them? You know, so where do you come down on this move?
Well, I think it gives them a little more cachet on what they could be this year. I think it raises their ceiling on what they should be this year and can be. I agree, Mike, there's still a debate about what is he really, honestly. I just don't have any faith, and if I'm a Steelers fan, I don't think I have any faith in what they had playing already. With that, Mason Rudolph, I guess, would be their starting quarterback, and he's had a couple nice moments in this league, right? Heck, he started a playoff game in Buffalo, but I think at least with Rodgers, if you at least feel like you have a better shot to be better than that. Ultimately, though, they're still in a division with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens and with Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, and I don't think it moves you any closer to where you'd normally think you'd be with them anyway. So ultimately, they're probably kind of in the same overall spot at the end of the day, maybe for a little chance at a better season, but not so much better that they're competing for much more.
The one thing I would have to concede this makes possible for them is if they have the kind of year that they had 2 years ago, last year, whatever, their regular year, and they get in. Like Mason Rudolph came here and started a wild card game against the Bills season before last. If that's Aaron Rodgers, I'm not expecting him to be at the peak of his game, but I've said it all along. Last year, there were moments, there were games where it was like, oh, he still got it. But it's just hard to expect that to happen on a consistent enough basis for him to be, a top half of the league quarterback, even, in my opinion. But you could have a good day. He could feel good and make some throws, and that increases the chance of a team like that scoring an upset, landing a couple of punches, and maybe it, coupled with a TJ Watt strip sack or something, it maybe gives you a little more chance, but it requires him to have a really good day, and I think those are going to be few and far between.
Yeah, and listen, think about the build of their team, right, which is, what they've done at wide receiver. They at least they have, DK Metcalf, obviously. This is somebody that, if you're DK Metcalf, if you're other weapons, you feel like maybe you got, one of the all-time greats at least throwing you the ball, gives you more confidence, I think, in what they're trying to do. But there are some question marks about the offensive line. I know that they are, hoping their offensive line comes into form a little bit better than it did last year. But you have now a guy that he was not good at eluding pass rush last year, the pass rush. And I think you have to consider that, right? So what does Arthur Smith want to do with him, and how do they want to structure their offense? I don't know if it's much. I don't think they're just putting him in shotgun and throwing the ball 40 times a game, right? I mean, I think you're still having a guy back there that's almost more like a game manager. So what does it really do as far as your script? Now, when I say that game manager, I think in the style of offense you run, but I do think he gives you more of a chance to make some plays still, at the end of the day, than Mason Rudolph. But I don't know how much it changes what you're doing overall philosophically.
Yeah, and how much do you have to give on your end to make him happy, right? How much you have to tailor what you're doing, and how does that go over? How does that line up with what Arthur Smith wants to do to begin with? And are we just going to end up where there's just a lot of headbutting going on?
Yeah, I think for me, it almost goes to we talk about this middling it thing, right? Where are you going to be bad or are you going to be good? And I don't think the Steelers have ever operated where they were going to intentionally be bad or felt like that they were going to go, and be a team getting a top draft pick. They've never operated like that this year, even though the only thing of their roster that really said that was, but they've never gotten the quarterback. That said, I just don't think they're good enough and have a roster good enough to now compete with the best teams in the AFC. You're right, Bulldog. You can get to the playoffs and maybe have a shot, but I don't even know if they still get to the playoffs right now, to be quite honest.
Yeah. And do they have enough cap room to fit Alan Lazard in? Is maybe the next question. I think
you know it.
It's gotta happen,
seventh round. It's a Alan Lazard and a 7th rounder in 2031 for a 7th rounder in 2032.
Special offensive consultant Nate Hackett incoming. Here we go.
They're an older team overall too, right? I mean, like T.J. Watt obviously getting low. He's on the other side of 30, and Cam Hayward is coming back. I mean, even Minka Fitzpatrick's like 29, I think, but their best players are older players, right? They don't have a lot of young talent on that team, to be quite honest with you.
They open at the Jets. Rodgers at the Jets, week 1. Week 2, they have the Seahawks, Metcalf in Pittsburgh. The Bills play in Pittsburgh in week 13. We talked about this quite a bit before the schedule came out, and you had those conversations with Mike North from the league. Just waiting on Rodgers. I mean, that was a thing that happened, right? Which team was going to get to go to Ireland to play them. That ended up being Minnesota. But they have the Packers on a Sunday night in week 8. I think the bet here was that they would have him when they put the schedule down.
I think that's right. I think with the Steelers, at least, they are a name brand. They're a national brand. They have a big following around the country. They always have. So it's almost like you can't go wrong if you put them on primetime anyway without Aaron Rodgers. But maybe you get a little bit more, okay, there's a game here that's going to have more juice if we do have Aaron Rodgers on the Steelers. So that probably went into a little bit of their thinking. But the Pittsburgh Steelers are always going to be a team on primetime and multiple settings throughout the year.
Do you guys think his career is not over yet, so this still isn't fully written, but do you guys think the last few years from his departure from Green Bay to now really damages his legacy as a player, his career? I don't remember always thinking of Rodgers in this sort of off-the-field way.
Oh, no, not at all. No, I've said a few times that I can't recall an athlete that went from one end of like my own sort of favorable, like I really liked Aaron Rodgers. He's the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. Who hates the Packers? It's Green Bay.
Nobody.
Right? I mean, it's easy to like. And so I really liked him, admired how he played. And yeah, once Tyler Dunn wrote about it.
That's where it started, isn't it?
And it just, it unraveled. And yeah, he's become one of my least favorite personalities in sports. And he was one of my favorites.
What do you do with his career?
Yeah, to answer your question, I think, Mike, I agree with Bulldog. But, the funny part is, what is legacy to whom? It's the fan opinion has certainly hurt him, I think, like Bulldog just said. And I agree with that. Like, it's this guy that you had so much reverence for, and then now it's like, come on, what are you doing, dude? It's all about you all the time, and people just can't stand, to hear about the guy. I don't think it does anything for his NFL legacy when it comes to Hall of Fame. Obviously, he's going to be a Hall of Famer pretty early in getting in. Like, that's not going to matter. I mean, at the end, 20 years from now, you're going to say, we're going to be talking to kids or grandkids about, that guy was kind of a jerk, though. But you're going to still see him on all the record books and all this great career he had, and people will still talk about how great of a thrower of the football he was. So I don't think it matters to that part of the legacy, but I definitely think he's hurt himself in the court of public opinion, and just a lot of just things he said, and a lot of the weirdness that goes along with Aaron Rodgers.
Still, I mean, pardon me for putting it this way, but just the one Super Bowl. One would be nice, but it's only one appearance, right? I mean, he doesn't have another. He has the one win against the Steelers after, I believe, the 2010 season. Sal Capaccio with us on the West Her hotline. The Bills would be what, Sal? Like another day of practice this morning or this afternoon, but no media availability. Then next week it's mandatory time, and the first guy for this will be James Cook. Care to put odds on his arrival next week? My guess would be, and I think yours, very low.
No, I don't know. I'm almost like 50-50. I think if you asked me this 2 weeks ago, I say, I think he'll be there. I just wonder what he'll do. I think I'm leaning a little bit more the other way now. I'm like, I don't know if he'll be there. What's it really matter if he's not at mandatory minicamp? They still have time here. So maybe a little less than 50-50 then. But I was in the other side as of a couple of weeks ago and thinking, he'll probably show up. I just don't know what he'll do if he shows up. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. It's a good question. But it is certainly the one talking point.
Yeah.
What would be focused on.
What caused you to change? If was there something that happened, or just conversations you had that sort of made you reconsider? Like what got you to change your view of that, even if it's only slightly?
I really felt, not that he wasn't serious, that a lot of it might have just been like posturing. But I think the longer we go on to this, the longer he's not there, and you don't hear from him, and then every time there's a new contract, there's more stuff out there. It just feels like it's less posturing and more statement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
And that's where I feel that he is now. And I think the question for me is, what is the ultimate statement, though? Is the statement then, I am just not showing up? Because that could very well be what it is.
Yeah, I feel like I'm expecting him to show up at some point in camp, maybe not right away, because I think my guess is that the way Bean has sounded about it, like they didn't sound to me, the Bills, like it was worth considering a compromise. They're so far apart that the middle is still too far for us to come. And so there's no point in continuing to talk. And that if Cook wants to make it as uncomfortable as possible, like get some sort of a point across, missing something mandatory is almost required. And so miss minicamp, okay, your teammates are not going to hold that against you. But there is a point in time here, as much as I would think most guys on the team would like him to get paid and be happy, they're also going to expect him, I think, at some point to show up and do his job. Like, we're all here to do a job. Like, that's a two-way street. And so I would guess that he'll get in at camp without a contract, because that's when the fines can really pile up. It's day after day after day, whereas minicamp is just 3 days. And I think he'll try to send his message, try to call the Bills' bluff. I don't think they'll cave at all. And then when July rolls around at some point, or early August, I think he'll show up.
I think what's interesting about listening to you say that, and you're right about the players, is I do wonder, too, at what point, if any, does Brandon Beane's tone change? Like, if he doesn't show up, as much as Brandon Beane has just been, we love Jim, but we love, and then, he's going to be wearing a Bills helmet in 2025, and he's saying all the right things. He is, and I get why he is, and all of that. And for Sean McDermott, too, at what point does anyone from the organization, especially Beane, but even McDermott, does their tone change, and they start to give an indication of, okay, enough is enough. Like, we need to have you here. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, we might love you, but you're a part of this team, and this is not what we're about, right? I wonder if that starts to happen if he doesn't show up next week.
We will be discussing it if he doesn't, and, of course, even if he does, I guess, for another day. But we'll see what happens. Sal, thanks for fitting us in.
You got it, guys. Thanks.
That's our dude, Sal Capaccio, on the West Her Hotline. His appearances are always brought to you by New York's only outlet, Liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
Every once in a while, I'm just sort of wandering through ProFootballReference.com like I love to do. Just, you see a stat, and it takes you somewhere. And this is not new. This is something we've discussed. And, I mean, Bills fans are well aware. I just don't know if everybody, especially if you like stats, is as aware of just what has happened here with Josh Allen. He has the same number of rushing touchdowns as Thurman Thomas did for his entire career, 65. That just is amazing.
That's pretty incredible in 8 years.
It's more than OJ ever had. Mm-hmm. He had 61. It's more than, think of like Alvin Kamara, who's been in the league for longer, has just been wildly productive. There's going to be receiving with Kamara, but he has 5 more rushing touchdowns career than Alvin Kamara and Joe Mixon. And on. Like, just all these names, way more than McCaffrey, way more than Chubb, way more than Jonathan Taylor, Allen.
And McCaffrey's the same draft?
17.
17, okay, the year before.
Does Josh Allen get to 100 rushing touchdowns? That would be, there could just still be some other active players in there, but right now that would be 9th all-time. It's more than Barry Sanders. He had 99. Franco, Dickerson, Falk, Bettis, all fewer than, actually, Falk has exactly 100.
I wouldn't want to cop to he'll waltz to 100, but I think he gets there. I think he gets there. Even with the slowdown that's coming that I talked about already earlier today. I think yeah. I mean, it's 35 more touchdowns.
He averages 10 a year.
Yeah. I mean, so that goes down a little, even if this year that goes down a little. What is that? 8, 9, right? And so we get 3 or 4 years of that, and there you go. He's going to get to 100.
They haven't banned the tush push.
It's incredible. That number is incredible.
It is. It
really is. And I don't. That's not high. That's an incredible number.
That's what I'm saying is we know, but do we really know just what?
Right.
You're talking about the most famous, productive running backs of all time. Lamar Jackson doesn't come close to touchdowns. Jackson usually rushes, if not by a lot, for more yards than Allen, but he does not run in the red zone that often. His touchdowns are, I don't know. Am I right? Are they scrambles or are they sweeps once in a while? He scored against the Bills on the Sunday night game on I think that was a design run around the right end.
Yeah.
But it's 4 a year for Jackson, and Allen last year had 12. The year before that he had 15. I mean, to have as many as Thurman and more than OJ
in this amount of time is pretty incredible.
Right. He just turned 29. He's the franchise leader in rushing touchdowns. And, he does other things.
Right. He's the quarterback. That's the thing. It's not so much the time. Because, Thurman is here for how many more seasons than Josh has already played? 2 or 3 maybe? It's not that many more.
Thurman's 88 to 99.
All right.
So 12 years.
All right. So, sure. And OJ probably, that's 70 until, when does he get traded?
78 is his last Bills year.
Okay. So that matches
or
the
69?
Years. 69, 70.
69 to 78?
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, but the fact that he's a quarterback, he's not a bad passer.
Not bad.
He's not a bad passer. It's not thank God for the running. Well, you wouldn't want to have this guy be your guy, but the running saves him. No.
Not obviously.
It's on top of being, it's incredible.
803-0550 to join us. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog back after the update. This is WGR.
On the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the
Turned out to be true, as the Pittsburgh Steelers are set to sign quarterback Aaron Rodgers. The deal is expected to become official tomorrow when Rodgers heads to the city, and it will be a one-year contract. Some other quarterback news: the Colts are going to be without Anthony Richardson next week for mandatory minicamp. He is dealing with a shoulder injury. Head coach Shane Steichen went on to further say that the hope is to have Richardson back by training camp. And the Ravens, they lock up wide receiver Rashad Bateman to a 3-year extension worth $36.75 million. $20 million of that is guaranteed. NBA Finals get going this evening. OKC hosts Indiana. Both franchises are still looking for their first championships. Tip-off tonight will be at 8:30. And then in baseball, Bison's in Syracuse versus the Mets. That game will get going at 6:30, and it'll be over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
All right, NBA Finals tonight, NHL Stanley Cup Finals last night, and then tomorrow. Some of you are, listen to me, fortunate enough to be able to watch these sporting events from home. I, in my case, when it comes to the Stanley Cup, am not, as I do not have the necessary channel to watch the finals. So what do? In last night's case, I watched Super Bowl VII.
Oh, sure.
Now, why? Because I have Super Bowl VII. I have access to it. Mm-hmm. Not even the full game, because who could do that? But the classic John Facenda narrated NFL films. sometimes I am so like.
Who is Super Bowl 7 again? Just
Miami, Washington.
Okay.
Those shows are so deeply embedded into my brain that often I will notice myself hearing or sort of humming to one of the songs, and then I'll have to think about which game that was from. And I'm usually able to do it. But like maybe this morning I woke up and I'd watched this last night, so I'd heard it last night. Rule changes. One of the better rule changes football made was moving the goalposts back.
Not having them on the goal line?
Yes.
In play?
I wonder how long. Was it one of these like that kickoff idea where one team wants to give you the option, have the option of, it's like a 4th and 15 instead of kicking off, and if I convert, I get to keep the ball? Was it like one of those where years of discussion were had about moving the goalpost back? And it might have been. I have no idea. I want to find out now.
I want to search my Twitter timeline from then and see what was being said about it.
I wonder, like, what was the pushback? Maybe it was the expense.
That would be a sensible guess, I think.
But I don't know, like
the times.
Those are often baseball stadiums too. They didn't just have the goalposts on the field, so they would have to be taken down and put up. What would have been the reason why?
Yeah, I want that back. It couldn't have been that expensive to move them. What are you pouring like some concrete for a mount and like whatever? It's not that wouldn't be that expensive.
No, but they also didn't print money.
No, that's right.
In the early 70s.
Right, that's why I thought initially it's a good guess, but I don't think it's that cumbersome, expensive. I wouldn't think it would have cost that much. But
there was a play. I bring this up because there was a play in Super Bowl 7. Washington had the ball, and it was a pass to a guy named Jerry Smith, who he died young. He died of AIDS in the 80s. But here on this play, he's open. As Facenda says, lay another trick of the gods. The goalposts. And the pass is like going right to him, but it just clanks off the crossbar, and then Kilmer's picked off on the next play. And Miami, another asterisk. Another asterisk for you, Dolphins.
Goalposts?
The goalposts.
Right.
Broke up a pass.
Is this not the game that has the famous Garo Yepremian botched snap? Is that a field goal or a PAT? I don't remember which.
That is a blocked field goal.
It's just a mess.
And he tries to throw a pass.
He feels the ball and is running away and then just tries to throw it and whiffs on it, and he
volleys it up in the air.
Yeah.
It's like,
wow.
Like a pass wouldn't even, I think, have been legal.
Right.
On that play after a blocked field goal.
Right.
But yeah, he just sort of bats it up in the air, and a guy, Mike Bass, catches it and goes all the way for Washington. So there goes your asterisk, because that happened. That's Washington's only points in the game. So, that's why I was what I turned to being shunned.
Yeah,
by the Stanley Cup Finals.
Shunned is a way to put that. Yeah. Well, the game lived. The game, to my eyes, I mean, I don't know. I didn't read a bunch. I mean, I watched it, so I didn't go looking for reviews. But I think it had to meet the criteria of an excellent game. It started. Edmonton scores right away, like a minute something in. Goal. Wow. Home crowd is rocking. Florida gets the next 3, I think, and just what a game! And to get the comeback and then the overtime, just it was really, really, really good hockey.
More coaching news in the NHL today. Yesterday, the Penguins hired their coach. I didn't know that name, Dan Muse. Did you?
No.
He was on the Rangers bench?
Rangers bench. He did some time in the USHL, but I did not recognize the name.
I did recognize today's hire, Boston. Marco Sturm, who you might remember as a player. He played a long time.
Yeah, I do remember him as a player. He played 5 years in Boston. So, of course, when they announced the hire, here's the social media, the official Boston Bruins accounts, 2 or 3 different tweets. Coming home. Welcome home. Welcome home, coach.
I hate that so much.
5 years. He's made 17 seasons in the NHL, 5 of them in Boston. Welcome home. He's from Germany. Welcome. He's the GM and coach of the German national team. Welcome home. Maybe he loves Boston. I'm sure he said today he loves Boston
I
and
love
considers it his second home. Best fans in the world because I work here. They're going to pay me $3 or $4 or $5 million a year, or maybe more. I don't know, but welcome home.
I bet the Sabres could have done that with Lindy.
Yeah, well, Lindy came here as an 18-year-old and spent his professional life almost exclusively here.
It's still lame.
It's more fitting. I agree, lame, but way more appropriate.
Okay.
If you were drafted by the Boston Bruins and played 5 seasons there and then played 12 more somewhere else, welcome home. Okay. This is where it began. I'm going back to my NHL roots. The team that drafted me, I'm now their head coach. What an honor. Welcome home. I'm coming home. You play 8 years in San Jose, get traded to Boston, play 5 years. Welcome home? Shut up. Just get out of here with welcome home already. So weak. Stupid.
Did the Sabres use welcome home for Eric Stahl being named to the front office?
Right. That would have been great.
I hate it all so much. I hate it all so much.
Best
It's all
use
just
of
like
welcome home ever.
So not clever. Not when they use hockey player nicknames and retained. And some defenseman, some 7th defenseman, got an $800,000
two-way contract.
Right. I just hate it. I hate it.
Running it back. You show who's this guy again?
I hate it.
What numbers he wears? He on my team? I don't even know what's going on here.
Thanks, I hate it.
Yeah, welcome home.
Never use it.
I mean, welcome back? Okay, welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back is better.
Sure. Okay, yeah. Welcome home. I just, Bruins.
I want to run, not really, I want to run one of those accounts and want to answer to no one. And here, finally, a team account with a sense of humor that isn't like the Chargers when the schedule comes out.
Did you see the Colorado Rockies yesterday?
Yes. Scheffler?
Yes.
Yeah, that's funny.
That was great.
That's funny.
Win since whatever the day, June
2nd.
Since June 2nd, right.
Because Scheffler won on Sunday.
Right. Win since June 2nd. Colorado Rockies,
June
3.
2nd.
Scheffler, 0.
That's really good.
That is good for a team that's having, historically the worst season ever in the history of baseball. That's solid.
That is very good. It's probably the most in baseball over those 3 days. 3.
It's the most you could probably.
Tied for the most.
Did anybody have a doubleheader?
Yeah, there are doubleheaders this week.
Somewhere, I don't know. Yeah, I love that. Anytime a team leans into, look,
how bad they are.
We're being self-deprecating here. You lost 21 to 3 in baseball. Tough one.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. That's effective. That works. Okay. I mean, I don't know. Did somebody get in trouble for that? Maybe. I don't know. But I like that. Welcome home can just eat it. Just get out of here.
It can eat it. Welcome home can eat it.
Just get out of here with welcome.
Get out of here. Go. Yesterday we brought up the Chiefs and whether or not they would have played Week 18 differently had they beaten the Bills earlier in the season and been 16-0 going into that game. I told you I would reach out to Alex Gold, our friend there, to get his opinion, or even maybe if he knows the answer. He answered my question, and I'll tell you next what he said about that. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. This is WGR. mostly kidding with this came up, was it yesterday? The Bills win over the Chiefs in the regular season wasn't worth it. It just wasn't worth it. At the time, we're like, all right, one game back, win on ties,
right,
head to head.
Keep going.
Chiefs never let them.
They never blinked.
Let them up. And thus went to Denver week 18 with nothing on the line, and they played like it. Mahomes sat, everybody sat. They had 98 yards of offense in a 38-0 loss. Remember Bo Nix starting like 20 for 20 and 3 touchdowns or something? Like, it was completely one of the worst blowouts of the NFL season. So yesterday, because I'm a masochist, I guess, I asked Alex Gold in Kansas City, do you know if the Chiefs had been 16-0 instead of what they were, 15-1, whether they would have gone all out in that game? And he said he didn't know, that he doesn't know that it's ever been said, but he thinks, or maybe the most think, that they would not have deprived Mahomes from that shot at history had they been 16-0 with a chance at an undefeated season. So his feeling is
they would have gone for it.
They would have gone for it. And, Denver was pretty good. They don't have to win, but does that take something out? Instead, Kansas City mostly gets 2 weeks off for a game against the Texans. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's the Bills game. And by the Super Bowl, well, I don't know, they just were blown out. But, it didn't end up being worth it, that win. Didn't change the Bills season at all. It, of course, gave them a chance, but they never were able to really get that chance. And you know the rest.
Yep. This came up, right? We were talking about it in the context of a Bills perfect season, right? They get all the way to the end. What are you going to want to do? Right? The Jet game, like final year in the stadium. They have this incredible season. They're all sewn up, the 1 seed, all of it. There's going to be hopefully 2 more playoff games in the stadium. So Jet game is like whatever. But if it's for perfection, that is history. It'd be a hell of a conversation if it ever came to reality, obviously.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe this is one where it might be different since you've won a couple. What if they won 3?
They won 3, yeah.
It might be different if you've won 3 than if you haven't won any.
Let's do this thing we haven't done yet.
Yes.
And we'll just, take our chances, right?
Because I said, and I still feel, why would this have changed? That absolutely not Deshaun McDermott play for the 17-0. He's going to, Allen will take the 1 snap again and hand off if he still has a streak, but I don't think the Bills would take the same risk. Everything's about getting 1. But maybe I'll be wrong. You'd love to know. You got to be really tight with Sean McDermott to get him to tell you, I think, right now. Because if, like I said last time, if I were to ask him, I think it'd be like, click. You can't ask him that in public next week.
Good thing,
by the way.
Good thing it's the Jets, though. I don't know.
It's only the Jets.
They would probably be pretty revved up to ruin it. Any athlete, any competitive person would. Like, I could wreck this, above and beyond.
Right. The Chiefs at Broncos last year would have been one of their tougher games on the schedule. They barely that's a game they win at home on a blocked kick.
Right.
Isn't it? Or is that they bank it in, or that's the block?
That's the block.
That's the block. Another game is where the kicker banks it in to win. All right. Well, again, the world of hypotheticals. Trysta Crick, not hypothetical. She joined us today to talk about, as usual, a wide range of topics. Gotta love Trysta. That was really fun. We'll have that for you next here on WGR.